Hey Wingers, my name's Andy. I live in Oban on the beautiful west coast of Scotland. We're very blessed to have conditions and terrain that make downwinders really awesome here. And I get a few questions online about how we plan and execute them. So I thought I'd just make a very quick video to share some details. My footage is all awful, so excuse that, but here we go. First up is always a weather check. I use Windy, which I find to be excellent. The default weather model it uses is ECMWF, which is a lot more accurate than the GFS model that a lot of the free apps use, so I highly recommend using Windy. And we can see we've got a couple of great days here. Southwesterly winds, day we're planning to go, it's looking sort of 17 to 30 knots, sort of rough range, so looks like a great day. I also check the tides. Outgoing tides or wind opposite tide creates the best conditions. You tend to get much steeper waves in those sort of conditions, and also good to know in the back of your mind that if you have gear failure, where you're going to end up, where the tides are going to take you, so you can kind of have a rough plan in your head what you're going to do if something goes wrong. Next up is route planning. So Windy also has a nice little feature where you can drop a bunch of waypoints and it gives you the distances. So we're planning to leave a local beach out of Oban. We'll ride out towards the island of Lismore, down through the channel, which gets really, really nice waves, especially when the tide's running out. We'll stop off in Appin for a quick bite to eat and something to drink, because you do get quite dehydrated on these long runs. And then we'll head back out around the outside of Schooner Island, back into the middle of Loch Linney, hopefully find some good swell there, and then down and finish up at Kuil Bay, where we left the vehicle earlier on in the day. You can see the distance that Windy has spat out there is 30 kilometres. So looking at past tracks and just straight line distances, what we've found is that your overall riding distance tends to be 30 to 50% more just from your zigzagging around. So that's something to bear in mind if you're trying to calculate how long it's going to take you to do your downwinder, just to look at your average speed and look at the overall distance that you're going to be riding. So today we're going to be doing probably best part of 40-50 kilometers. For communications and tracking, I like to take the Garmin InReach. Advantage with this is it's satellite broadcast, so you don't need to worry about having a mobile phone signal, and friends and family can log into a website and see your position pretty much live. And you've also got the ability to communicate with the rescue centre two ways. I also keep a mobile phone in a waterproof case, and I've just recently started using a PFD mainly for the pockets so that I can keep a little bit of a drink, chocky bar, and my comms devices in there all in one package. Based on today's forecast, taking 4-metre wings. I'm always nervous about taking anything smaller because the wind can die quite easily in this area, and 4 metres I'm pretty comfortable with getting up in reasonably light conditions. Going downwind, it's never usually a problem getting too overpowered because you're going with it anyway. You see that we tend to use more high volume boards, so definitely not sinkers, because it may well be that you need to take a break out there if the wind dies. You can see my buddy Kim there is wearing a waterproof backpack. They're really handy for taking a change of clothes and a towel. So if we're riding to one of the islands and taking a ferry back, then we tend to pack everything up in one of those waterproof bags and take everything with us. But in this case, we've left all of our change in the vehicle at the end of the run. One of the things I really like about the downwinders in this area is that there's rarely a problem with waves getting in or out of the water, so there's no beach break to deal with. Quite often we do have to start off in the lee a little bit and maybe ride out to the wind, but it does mean that there's no risk of gear damage in the entries and exits. Okay, so we're off. We're still a little bit in the lee of the land here, so the first step's just going to be riding out past Maiden Island, out towards Lismore, getting to the main channel and finding some swell, finding some bumps to start riding properly. Okay, so we've left the lee of Maiden Island and the mainland, and we're starting to find our first bumps. I always cringe when I look at this footage because the bumps always seem a lot bigger when you're on them than when you look back at them on video, but hey ho. You can see I'm fully flagged out here, and there's obviously something that's powering me. One thing we kind of find is that as time goes on, you just get better and better at reading the water and finding the waves and actually staying on them for extended periods. And every day is a new learning experience. I won't talk about technique too much because there's plenty of videos out there made by people who are far more qualified than me to be imparting that sort of knowledge. But here's a few, I guess, little things that have kind of helped us along the way. So one thing is to try and stay really high up on the wave. Don't go too far down in the trough. A lot of the time that means riding diagonally across the wave. So rather than sort of going down, you'll probably be going in one direction or another, or you may be zigzagging around, but always trying to stay at least in the top third of the bump that you're on, and always looking around for where is dying and where is forming up. Sometimes you need to switch back and actually turn back onto the bump behind you. Other times you'll just see it opening up and you'll naturally know where to go. One of the things I love about the wings is that you can just keep on riding and searching under power until you find the bump that's going to get you going for a good while. When I see a big bump, that's rarely the one that I'll go for because that's usually braking. So I usually take the one right behind. So if I see a wave that's really kind of jacking up, I'll aim for the trough behind there, and then that'll be the next bump that's starting to form up and will eventually turn into something bigger. That will also eventually break, and then you'll have to jump over onto the next thing. One comment I get quite a lot when I post about these downwinders is, I'd love to join you guys once I'm good enough. Well, I would argue actually that downwinders are fantastic for all levels. From pretty early stage on, to be honest, my first downwinder I could barely jibe. But you just got to pick the right one, pick something that's nice and safe, close to a road where there's an easy bailout. And you just learn so much. So the other rider riding here with me, Kim, he's only very recently started doing downwinders, and he keeps saying every single time he's learning more in one session downwind than he is in weeks and weeks of just regular riding. It really does challenge your skills and just make you a much better rider, much more quickly. I think the main reason for that is just because when you're on a wave and you're fully flagged out, you're no longer using the wing as a crutch or as a support. So your foot position has to be perfect on the board, which is something that you can get away without when you're just riding back and forth. But on the wave, you can't, you'll just get thrown off. So it's really worthwhile just getting into wave riding as quickly as you can. So here we are nearing the end of the channel towards Appin, just about at the halfway point. A little bit of shipping traffic. I always make a point to stay well clear of any big vessels like this. Especially if the channels are narrow and they need to worry about navigating in some tight little areas. And it pays to keep these guys on side because one day you may need a lift home if some gear fails, you lose a wing or something. And this is it, Appin, the halfway point. So we just pulled in here on the beach and had a bit of chocolate and a Red Bull, a bit of energy, as this is only the halfway point. I'm going to finish the video here because the rest of it's just pretty boring. More of the same. But I hope people will get something out of this and it encourages a few more folk to get after it and just start exploring the downwinders that might be available in your area. Because certainly for us, it's opened up a massive playground, which has just been absolutely incredible. Loving it. Alright, take care out there guys. Hope to see you up here in Scotland sometime. Ciao.